Why streaming has ruined comedies. Why would you think that is?
Have they?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Judd
wait,
Streaming comedy.
wait, streaming or Hollywood? Because, you know,
let me get the. This is from the Chris Williamson podcast. I watch his show. He's a mega Chad, I'll say. I like that every time I watch him, he has like a different look. He's got like glasses or no glasses.
He's been experimenting this last year with fashion.
He's trying out different looks. I can't wait till he decides on one. But he has really great conversations.
Yes, he does.
Chris watches
Look at
all
the
of these,
set that he's
and he watches Rogan, and he does Ice Bass, and he does BJJ. So don't mess with him if you see him on the street.
But
yeah, he's based.
Judd Apatow was on his recent show.
Why is he talking about comedy with Judd Apatow?
Just some comments on how streaming is reshaping movies. Let's take a look.
Hey man, Superbad was a
me and a few of my friends have talked about, especially I'm 37. So for me, 40-year-old virgin, as an example, Anchorman, you know, these comedy movies moved culture and created taglines that people still now are referring to. Like it's almost part of the lexicon, sort of modern Western language.
Yeah.
And I don't know the last movie from the comedy world that did nudge that. And it seems like something happened between 2010 to 15 to now, where you go, what was the last movie that people quoted by the water cooler ad nauseum? Like it was just part of the lexicon. What do you come to think about what's happened? There's this streaming stepping in, lack of box office, people being into their own niches, and nobody having the collective consumption that allows it to reach escape velocity at the same time. Have you considered that? Do you know the dynamic I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's pretty simple that in the old days, comedies would do really well on DVD. So because people like to own them and watch them over and over again. So if you made a movie like Anchorman, if it made $60 million, it would also make 60 on DVD. So it would be a big hit. And then when people switched to streaming, nothing replaced the DVD money, right? So now the bet is different. You have to make more in the box office to be a hit.
You're optimizing for opening weekend.
Yeah. So it's hard to know the numbers, exactly what the numbers are, but if you made a movie for 20 in the old days, if it made 40 and 40 on DVD, which adds up to 80, you're good. So now take away the 40, you made a movie for 20, it's made 40, but you also had to spend 20 million on marketing. And then suddenly it's negative or a wash, where studios can place a different kind of bet on a giant movie that costs $200 million. And they're hoping it makes $900 million, but they have every market in the world to sell it to. And the same for horror on the other side. A horror movie might cost $5 million, and it can travel to other countries where comedy doesn't always play well. In Bulgaria, it plays well.
Culturally specific.
Yeah. And so all those things just made studios go, we don't want to make as many bets on that. But then you get into a doom loop, which is the audience gets out of the habit of going. The writers start writing different types of movies because there's no money in it.
Being eaten up by the horror genre.
Yeah. And then they're not breaking new comedy stars because they're not giving people opportunities. So you don't get your next Adam Sandler or Amy Schumer because they're not taking the risk to give them the movie to prove they're a movie star. But it's always one huge hit away from reversing itself. So if someone made The Hangover right now, it would be gigantic. And then they would chase it a little bit.
Oh, this has proven that there is money to be made in that area of the world. So we will start to try and workshop more stuff that's like that.
Yeah. I mean, I always say it's like when they used to not make pirate movies because they thought no one wants a pirate movie. There was a big pirate bomb movie that Roman Polanski made with Walter Matthau. And so you hadn't seen pirate movies in forever. And then Pirates of the Caribbean happens. And then suddenly it's like the biggest thing. And that is how it works. It is cyclical. And you would think, with how rough the world is lately, that comedy would be the genre that would get bigger and bigger. But also I feel like the other genres decided to also be comedies. So the action movies are kind of like comedies. and the dramas are kind of funny. And so everyone has pulled it in, and the audience is like, yeah, a Marvel movie is basically a comedy for half of it.
He left out the biggest reason.
Right.
Okay. What do
Left
you
out the
think of
biggest
that?
reason.
All right. Well, first of all, comedy should never be cyclical, right? Like comedy should always just be a mainstay when it comes
Should be
to
like horror.
So
Yeah.
but let's just put that out there. But I still disagree. I agree to some degree with the fact that DVD did help with repetition, right? With people watching them and then repeating the lines and all this other stuff. But streaming didn't kill comedy, right? Hollywood killed comedy.
No,
I mean, there's still. I mean, you can go back. I mean, there's still plenty of great comedies from the past.
you
the
didn't
thing
get
is,
canceled for making a
Hollywood
pirate
Hollywood
movie.
quit making them.
Right. But
Like,
that's not
that's the
because they were
problem.
cyclical. Like everything he just said was true. And Matt Damon said this 10 years ago or whatever, that we lost. He said it on Hot Ones, that we lost DVDs. And that's what, okay,
Yeah.
that's all true, but that's true for just movies in general. The reason comedies dies is because you motherfuckers went politically correct and didn't want to offend anyone. You stopped being
that's
funny.
exactly
Because
it.
in order to be funny, as Paul can attest, you have to risk offending people. That's otherwise it's not funny. It's milquetoast.
So movies like Dave didn't offend anyone. It's one of my favorite comedies.
Kevin
by
Kline,
Ivan
where he
Reitman.
takes over as president.
It's
It's
a great movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. So it's a question. It's a question of variety, and it's a question of the fact that movies throughout history, up until recently, 25% of all movies that were released to the theaters were comedy of all kinds. But there was a vast source of comedy. Broadway gave us an awful lot of, You Can't Take It With You. Neil Simons had an endless slate of Broadway plays that became movies. Arsenic and Old Lace. Books were on the New York Times bestseller list. There were comedy books. Now, we don't have a lot of this source material. The Marx Brothers came from the theater, and then that was all tested on live theater before they became movies. So we're missing written source material. We're missing plays as source material. We're missing acts that spent their entire life becoming Bob Hope and Bing Crosby creating the road movies. We're not doing the British had the Ealing Studios, which had some of the best comedies of all time. We're not getting the road movies, Road to Bali, Road to Zanzibar, all these horrific British comedies. So, and I think you need that ecosystem for comedies to exist, but there's an awful lot of decision makers out there that don't have a sense of humor. And I don't think they really like comedy. We need all kinds of comedy. They get it. And then our heroes are now gone. They're older. They're not interested in doing comedies. Farrell is gone. Ben Stiller is gone. Will Ferrell's movie on Netflix was actually not too bad. The one that was the Eurovision, the Icelandic Eurovision one was kind of cute. But the what was it? Speaking of Judd Apatow, his movie Bubble on Netflix was just an abomination.
Yeah.
Like that was
Paul, but what about
yeah.
the rise of how popular stand-up specials are on Netflix?
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
we've lost.
I don't count them though.
Right, but I think that comedy isn't dead per se in the entertainment space.
No.
Because stand-up is doing really well. But I do think that look, I don't know if you guys saw Joyride.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
love that movie.
Yeah.
That movie was hilarious.
Yeah.
Joyride.
And
With the two girls, with the two
girls,
guys?
Asian
Or
girls.
Asian girls.
That
Asian girls.
movie,
Okay.
I thought that, and also Bottoms was really, really funny.
Yeah, that was good.
And I thought those two films, they both bombed. Like nobody, no, and Joyride was a filthy teen comedy. Those girls were absolutely.
So was Bottoms, for crying out loud.
And Bottoms was filthy too. I mean, even Marshawn Lynch was in Bottoms, and I was like, I thought Joyride was going to be a huge hit because you had the female perspective, and it was so unapologetically filthy. And now you've got that show that the girl who made Shiva Baby. Oh, I Love L.A.
Yeah.
Have you
I
seen
saw
that?
I've seen it. I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, then that seems to be going going somewhere. But I do think part of the problem is that our civilization has changed.
Yeah.
No one has a sense of irony, and people don't want to be. They're too fragile. They can't understand that if people are making fun of you, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you're everyone seems to be. There's no irony. There's no satire. Nobody can laugh themselves. It's really weird.
I just feel like we need a wall of comedy that prevents them from complaining, or any complaint that they have just bounces off and we just don't give a fuck. We don't have this onslaught of comedy that's telling all these assholes, go away. We don't care what you think. That's
right.
We're not getting that.
I think we're losing a lot of the controversy.
Because of lack of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I feel like it's the lack of controversy in comedy too. Like all the movies you mentioned, they're very like DEI forward, and I wonder if they just didn't do well because people saw that on the surface and were like, it's just going to be another one of those
classes,
maybe,
and
right?
or you ruined everyone. Right.
Right.
You said
So,
it was
like,
female focused. Right. It was female focused.
Right.
You burnt us
So
out
it's
on
like, I
10
think
years of
that-
girl bosses.
Also, what's been missing is
who are the
One at a
talented
time, folks.
young. Sorry about that. Who are the talented young comedians right now, and where are they? If you see guys like Drewski and Kai Cenat, they're on streaming, they're doing their own thing because they don't have to worry about Hollywood putting up with, I'm not going to put, like Drewski just did the white face joke, and everybody was like, oh my God, this is terrible, but it's hilarious. It was funny. I loved it.
It was hilarious.
It was hilarious. So, like, if you can't do that in Hollywood, Drewski's just better off. Hey, I'm just going to do my own thing, and I'm not going to go to Hollywood. So Hollywood is starting to become more and more culturally irrelevant because they put up these barriers and guardrails to saying, well, you can't do this kind of comedy or that kind of comedy. So the really funny, smart, talented comedians, they're like, I'm just going to do my own thing on my own channel.
Classes.
I can build up my own platform. I don't have to
Well,
worry
but
about
also,
Hollywood,
to
and therefore
bring-
Hollywood loses out on a top, talent.
To bring Rob's point into it, it's, you mentioned two really funny movies. What I miss in comedic creators are the white male Canadians who used to be the guys who made all comedies back in
Ivan
the
Reitman.
Yeah. And there seems to be that gatekeeping that says that and it's a holdover from DEI that another white guy making another comedy.
But we still had like Schitt's Creek and Letterkenny and that stuff was
release
really-
the Canadians.
that anymore. That's
Release the Canadians. I think it's too bad that Rob Reiner's not going to be making anymore. Sorry.
Well,
yes. Yeah. When we've got like, Shane Gillis just did Tires recently. That show's pretty funny. I don't know if y'all watched that. Like some of these guys are starting to do things, and I wonder if they're going to work their way over more into the
Naked
movie
Gun,
theater space.
they tried.
Right. It was okay.
But what's interesting,
I
I mean,
just
Shane Gillis is still semi-canceled. He's
right.
No,
he's right.
He's getting a success through the back door, not through your traditional means.
Right.
And
But
I
that's
think
what I'm
traditional
talking
is going
about.
to have to be.
That's what
I
I'm
think
talking
it's
about.
these Kill Tony guys who are going to be the guys who are going to be.
But
making
Alan, what
comedy.
does that
Right.
fucking mean?
Hold on,
He
it's
has
all going to be
Netflix-
done. It's all going to be done at the independent level.
Right, but everything you just said was wrong. He's not canceled. He's got Netflix specials and shows. He's routinely on the biggest podcast in the world. He was just on Saturday Night Live again. He's not fucking canceled. He's the spokesperson for Bud Light beer because they went back to our money. So that's the point. We're in a place now where you can't even be canceled anymore.
He kind of uncanceled himself.
I mean, that speaks to the fact that I think the canceled are starting to get uncanceled, but he had been canceled. He had been canceled for a very long time. He got booted off of Saturday Night Live because of some things he said on a podcast.
Right.
And
he went right back
the
on.
tide, and to your point, the tide is turning. But Shane Gillis is not getting, Disney is not coming to Shane Gillis. Warner
also,
Brothers is not coming to Shane Gillis.
There are funny shows, TV shows, right? But I think we're talking about movies here, right? We're talking about theatrical releases. I think studios are fine with greenlighting a TV show, a comedic TV show.
They're scared of the risk.
But as far as movies go, they're not doing that, right? And that's the problem. So, and yeah, I mean, Derek kind of made a good point. Like, who are the new young, hotshot comedians, man? Like, I remember even back in the day, not even that far back, where Jonah Hill and Michael Cera were the new comedy guys because of like Superbad and movies like that, right? But
Rogan and Franco.
Who's doing comedy today? Like, who are the guys that you go to if you want to make a funny movie right now? Who do you go to?
Lorne Michaels.
And Badger, to your point, who do they turn to reboot the Muppets? Seth Rogen. I mean, that's where Hollywood is going to. These guys
They're
going to who are this safe.
You're right. They
Follow,
go to Seth
bend the knee and follow the rules.
And they all kind of did that to themselves. Like when you mentioned Will Ferrell, bro, when I think of Will Ferrell, I just think of him being unfunny now and making Netflix documentaries with his trans friend. I don't think funny. You know what I'm saying? Like they all kind of ruined their thing.
Well, they all have their art. They all have their time.
Right.
Right.
Everyone has their time.
And that's so many of them seem to be like just afraid to take those risks. So it's like, I think about, y'all remember when The Interview came out and that movie got canceled and wasn't allowed to be released when Rogan and Franco did that, making fun of Kim Jong-un? Like, we don't get that anymore. And I think that was one of the things, especially for film, that made comedy thrive, was taking those risks and those chances. And that's what brought people into the theaters like, oh, this is going to be crazy as shit. I have to see it. And
So
we don't
he's
get that
right.
anymore.
When Judd Apatow said about the DVDs, okay, that's fine. They don't want to take chances because they know they don't have the guarantee. But also, you don't want to offend people by having Robert Downey Jr. dress up as a black man or have fucking Bradley Cooper said paging Dr. F slur, because you can't make those jokes anymore. So there's a whole group that I would argue was sizable in the comedy that just got taken out. And then all that's left is the Daves and the Mrs. Doubtfires. But these motherfuckers don't know how to write subtlety and nuance and shit like that. So you don't get those either. So you get nothing.
Right. And you've got the Spanish actor, what's his name, who was in F1.
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem, who obviously, clearly right now is mad at the Coen brothers who gave him that haircut and now doesn't like Jews.
Yeah. So say what you want. They're funny people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're
the long and short of it is the Hollywood studio system just doesn't see value in comedies anymore. Like that's really the problem. They see no value in it.
Yeah, but I
think there's plenty of comedians. I think there's plenty of directors who want to do comedies. I think there's plenty of people who want to do comedy, and I think studios are the ones saying, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah. See, I liken comedies to horror films. You can make them for the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And you can have a wide diversity of comedy.
Yeah, but not when you're hiring Jennifer fucking Aniston or whoever's
But
taking
do people
like
want to go?
But the dollars are there.
Like
market
horror,
is there.
people will show up for a cheap horror movie,
Like
all right?
American
Will
Pie,
they show up for
Road
a cheap-
Trip.
Will they show up for a cheap comedy like that? Like some of the horror movies, they'll make it for like 10 million, and then they'll make like 80, 90, 100 million dollars. It's like that's a huge win. Like, are people showing up to comedies like that?
The Jennifer Lawrence film was a good attempt, but it just wasn't well written.
Yeah, I agree.
The one where she was deflowering, great premise.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Fantastic.
Even bad horror movies, even shitty horror movies, people show up for those. People will go and watch because they just want to be scared.
But horror movies have a truth to them. The truth is, if they're scary or interesting, or both, hopefully both. Like Weapons had an interesting premise that was so weird and gonzo. People go and they feel satisfied when they walk out of it. I mean, with a comedy movie, even the very premise, the premise is compromised these days because so much of it, you have where it's some way, shape, or form it's going to offend somebody. And our civilization has become deeply unfunny.
Yeah,
in the sense that we're a joke. I mean, humanity has become a ridiculous joke of itself. You have to believe in a principle in order to make something work. We don't believe in anything anymore. So we don't even believe in our own country. So it's very difficult to then send up something that you don't believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we used to be able to make political comedies. Like I remember seeing Robert Redford in The Candidate back in the day, and you would watch these films, but we live in a world where a political satire is not nearly as biting as our reality that we live in. And so we have an ongoing drama if you made a movie about the release of the Epstein files would get released. And
that'd be a hard comedy, Rob.
But what I'm saying is you would actually release them and the public would have to deal with the aftermath. Now the Epstein files get released and they're all redacted. And that in itself that's the joke. That's the comedy. The Epstein files got released and they're redacted.
I mean, Dr. Strangelove.
Well, that's the whole thing. We live in a Kubrickian farce that is more
Kafka, yeah.
sad and disturbing than anything you could send up comedically.
But Rob, with that said, though, I guarantee you, if there were a studio right now that had the balls to make a movie that was considered the most offensive movie in history, people will show up to watch that comedy. I guarantee it. Because there are more base people, I think, than there, at least than there used to be, right? I think if they said this movie will offend everybody, guarantee you there will be asses and seats to watch that comedy.
Think what's more offensive than the world we're living in today? On
But
a
it
daily basis.
It could get offensive.
But it doesn't have to be offensive.
It could get pretty
Hold my
offensive.
beer.
Not to be pitching anything to you guys, but I just finished writing a movie where someone puts together an AI application with the effect that it makes all computers and digital systems in the world absolutely 100% fair, and the world collapses, because the world can only work if people are cheating each other, and there's crime and child exploitation, and the ending is the world has to return back to its horribleness, because the perfect world that this system that this person created was worse. So that's the gist of this screenplay. It's very funny and depressing.
I'd like to read it, Paul, but I have two things. One, I think the problem is that in comedy, people are gutless about really mocking what's in the zeitgeist.
Sure.
SNL, for example. I'd like to show a video that was on SNL recently, because breaking news, SNL did something funny, actually funny, with Ariana Grande. I'm going to show this in a second, but I think it's the zeitgeist that's missing. SNL missed a huge opportunity to make fun of a guy that not even all there being president.
Yes,
it's
correct.
Weekend at Biden's could have been a running bit.
Yeah.
They made, since I've been watching SNL since I was a kid in the 70s, they made fun of every single president, but we got to Obama and somehow that stopped. Let's not make fun of the president. Let's not make fun of Biden. You got to make fun. Comedy is rooted in truth. That's why it resonates. It's a truth we all accept. Things and so that's where they're missing the zeitgeist. People are gutless about addressing what's in the zeitgeist. The other thing he talks about, not actually investing in comedians. Like look at Second City. I grew up watching that. Second City was so good. So good. And everyone on a Second City ended up being in movies and other projects. It was a great proving ground for that. And the proving ground, like a small comedy, you kind of test some talent. I mean, could you make a Cannonball Run today with some of the biggest comedians? Maybe. I don't know.